This is probably one of the most important wetland areas. It looks as healthy as it has been for a long time.
Floodwaters have breathed new life into the final stretch of the River Murray, flowing across South Australia to the sea.
And have a look out on the point here. I think there might be some silver gulls nesting in the cliffs.
It's a water bird's paradise.
20 large-pied cormorants, 2 great black cormorants, 10 great black cormorants, 20 black swans, 10 black swans, 20 black swans. The pelican colony on the southern Coorong is the biggest that we've seen. 1 black swan.
After decades charting waterbird numbers, ecologist Richard Kingsford has watched the nation's biggest river system go through cycles of boom and bust.
That's, to me, the big challenge is how do we deal with some of these extremes that are coming even more frequently?
It was the Millennium Drought that prompted the Howard government to unveil plans in 2007 for an unprecedented overhaul of river management and put an end to decades of bickering over water use between the basin states.
The current trajectory of water use and management in Australia is not sustainable.
The Murray-Darling River system supports a $22 billion agricultural industry. Environmentalists argued significantly less water should be taken from the basin for irrigation.
There was so much controversy over the amount.
Burn the plan! Burn the plan!
What was actually legislated, because of all the arguments about the size of those figures, was 2,750 gigalitres to be returned to environmental use.
Get out of here and let us alone!
Hello. But another key part of the Basin Plan was a deal South Australia struck for an additional 450 gigalitres to flow downstream each year, starting in 2024.
Put simply, it means more water, and more water means better environmental outcomes.
A year out from scheduled delivery, only 5 of the extra 450 gigalitres of flows have been recovered so far.
The fact that the 450 gigalitres is very unlikely to come by the due date of 2024 is both devastating and unsurprising.
In 2015, responding to fierce opposition from farmers, the coalition scaled back water buybacks to meet environmental targets. 7 years on, the new Labor government has announced a new round of buybacks.
Irrigators have been approaching us since we came into government, saying that they've got water entitlements that they would like to sell to the Commonwealth to return for environmental flows.
The new buybacks will help achieve the key target under the Basin Plan, and they may not be the last.
Having environmental water to release when the environment's under pressure makes all the difference. Without it, you would see, extinctions on a mass scale.
The prospect of further buybacks fills upstream irrigators with dread. 13 years ago, in drought and in debt, Deniliquin dairy farmer Brett Napier sold 800 megalitres of water to the Commonwealth Government. He's concerned the government will buy back even more water to meet the extra target negotiated by South Australia.
If the extra 450 goes ahead, it's going to shrink that pool of water available to irrigators even more, which is in turn going to push up the price and make things extremely difficult when we hit another dry time, which will be around the corner. Back in 2000 there was 140 dairies within our region. As of today, that number's below 30.
If the government decides that it's going to buy back that water from farmers, then it really needs to start deciding which communities it wants to knock out altogether.
I don't at all disregard what the irrigators are saying. And what I also know is that there is progressively less water available in the Murray-Darling Basin system because we're facing the impacts of climate change.
The Victorian government is backing concerns from irrigator groups. It's commissioned a report warning that if buybacks are used to achieve the 450 gigalitres extra flow for the environment, it could lead to more than $500 million in lost agricultural production in Victoria and New South Wales each year.
We've got large numbers of dairy farmers, dairy processors and primary producers in the north of the state. We do need to make sure that we have that certainty and security of volume of water and supply into the future.
I've seen that report and I'm not sure that I agree with its conclusions.
Welcome to our Customer Operations Centre. This is basically where it all really happens.
Irrigator groups want the federal government to fund more water efficiency projects rather than buy more water from farmers.
How much have your operations changed over the past 5 years?
You know, we're more efficient, we're more effective, and it's been a massive game changer.
Murray-Darling Irrigation is one company to benefit from $126 million in federal funding to automate its operations and upgrade water channels.
We've actually lined the whole channel and that reduces the seepage and the losses whilst we're trying to transport water through the system.
The project will save about 6 gigalitres a year, but some argue that's a small water saving at high cost to taxpayers.
It's easily over $20,000 a megalitre, so, you know, that's a huge amount.
Why is $20,000 a megalitre good value for money for taxpayers?
Well, I really believe the key is that's keeping people in jobs. You know, if you really look at the whole life cycle and the real value of that investment, you know, spending 2, 3, 4, 5 times the actual value of the water and investing it in this great country is heaps better than the alternative, which is ripping the guts out of communities.
The Federal Water Minister will try to broker an agreement on the extra 450 gigalitres when she meets with state ministers this Friday. Victoria and New South Wales dispute there's any binding agreement to achieve the full amount.
South Australia only signed up to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan when the 450 gigalitres was added to it. It's not discretionary, it's not a choice.
The New South Wales Water Minister, Kevin Anderson, was unavailable for interview, but in a statement said his government wouldn't support any proposal to achieve the extra 450 gigalitres of flows through buybacks.
I say to state governments that these are targets that have been agreed by the states and territories in the past. We don't have an option now to walk away from those targets.
In South Australia, floodwaters have cleared the mouth of the Murray naturally for the first time in years.
15 black swans, 1 silver gull, 10 black swans.
Long-time observers argue the extra flows are crucial to keep the entire system healthy into the future.
30 black swans, 5 mountain duck. I think it's critical that that extra water is put into the system, and not just for South Australia. There are really important wetlands and floodplains upstream.
And that water only comes from farmers. We're going to just keep compounding and compounding that hardship every time we hit a drought.